Welcome back to the Book Nook. I'm so excited for our deep dive today.
Yeah, me too.
So you, our awesome listeners, you know how much we love digging into books that can truly make a difference in your lives, right?
Absolutely. Those practical, actionable books you can actually use.
Exactly. And that's why we're diving headfirst today into Kevin Horsley's Unlimited Memory. It's all about how to use advanced learning strategies to learn faster, remember more, and be more productive.
That's a mouthful.
Right. But don't let the title scare you off. This book is jam-packed with incredibly practical techniques and exercises that anyone can start using right away to improve their memory. And that's what we're all about here in the Book Nook, right?
Yeah, we're all about cutting through the fluff and getting straight to what works. No BS.
Totally. So no long drawn-out theory lectures today. We're diving straight into the actionable stuff, the exercises, the techniques that you can start experimenting with today, and hopefully see some immediate results. You ready for this?
Born ready.
All right, so one of the first things that really struck me about this book, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you listening, is Horsley's whole perspective on memory.
Yeah, he really challenges the whole, you're either born with a good memory or you're not kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He makes this really compelling argument that memory is not some fixed trait you're stuck with. It's not like, you get a certain amount of memory at birth and that's all you get.
It's more like a muscle, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a skill like riding a bike or playing an instrument. And just like any skill, you can get better at it with practice, with the right techniques, with the right mindset even.
And he really walks the walk, too.
Wow.
He shares his own story, and it's pretty amazing.
Oh, tell me about it. So Horsley was diagnosed with dyslexia as a kid, and he even was told by some doctors that he might have brain damage. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I know, right? Like, talk about a limiting belief. But he didn't let that define him, did he? He goes on to become a grandmaster of memory, competing in these crazy memory championships and stuff.
Yeah, those competitions where they memorize, decks of cards in seconds and...
Crazy long lists of random words. I mean, it's mind-blowing stuff. But his point is, if he can overcome those early challenges and develop an exceptional memory, then anyone can improve their memory, right?
Right. It's a pretty powerful message of hope, really, especially for anyone who's struggled with their memory or been told they're just not good at remembering things.
And that actually brings us perfectly to the first key concept we want to unpack from the book, the power of beliefs. Horsley really emphasizes how much our beliefs about our own abilities shape what we can actually achieve.
It's that whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing, right?
Yeah.
If you believe you have a bad memory, you're probably going to act in ways that confirm that belief.
Exactly. And he challenges you to really think about any negative beliefs you might be carrying around about your memory. Things like, oh, I'm just terrible with names, or I always forget where I put my keys, or I could never learn a new language.
We all have those little voices in our heads sometimes, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. But what Horsley does is he asks us this really powerful question. What if those beliefs weren't true at all? Like, what if they were just thoughts, habits of thinking that you've developed over time and not actual facts?
It's like hitting the reset button, isn't it? Questioning those deeply ingrained assumptions that we often don't even realize are holding us back.
And it's not just about identifying the negative. He also gives you some really empowering beliefs to try on for size. Like, imagine replacing, I have a bad memory with, I was born with exceptional concentration and memory. Or swapping out, I'm terrible with names for, remembering games is important to me and I'm getting better at it every day.
I love that one. I'm getting better at it every day.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself permission to improve, right? Acknowledging that it's a process, not some innate talent.
Totally. And he even throws in this gem, there is no failure, only feedback. Like, how liberating is that? It takes so much pressure off the learning process.
Totally. Because it reframes mistakes as opportunities for growth, right?
Exactly. And he emphasizes that memory improvement is a skill that takes effort and practice, just like anything else worth mastering.
It's about making that commitment to yourself, to putting in the time and energy to develop your memory, just like you would with any other important skill in your life.
So we thought it would be really cool to give you, our amazing listeners, your first actionable exercise right now.
Love it. Right here, right now.
Exactly. So what we want you to do, and you can literally do this right now, is take a moment to identify just one self-limiting belief you have about your memory. Maybe it's that voice that pops into your head whenever you forget someone's name, or maybe it's a deeper belief about your overall learning ability. Whatever it is, just bring it to mind for a moment. Now, here comes the fun part. We want you to seriously question the validity of that belief. Ask yourself, is this actually a fact, or just a thought I keep having.
It's about separating those automatic negative thoughts from actual reality.
Right.
Like, is there any real evidence to support this belief?
Right. And often, when we really examine those beliefs, we realize they're based on isolated incidents from the past, or things someone told us a long time ago, or even just fears we have about the future. Now, the next step is to create a new positive belief to replace that old limiting one. So if your old belief was, I have a terrible memory, maybe your new belief is, my memory is getting stronger every day.
Or I am capable of remembering anything I set my mind to.
Exactly. And here's the key. Once you've created that new belief, spend a few moments thinking about why this new belief could be true for you. What small pieces of evidence, even tiny examples from your past, can you find to support it? Maybe you remember a time when you were able to recall something important, or maybe you've surprised yourself by learning a new skill. The point is to start shifting your mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. How does that sound?
I think that's a great starting point.
Awesome. So let's move on to the next big concept that Horsley dives into, which is concentration techniques.
Because you can have all the memory techniques in the world, but if you can't focus your attention, you're not going to be able to learn or remember anything effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. So Horsley really emphasizes that concentration, just like memory, is not some magical ability some people are born with. It's a skill that can be developed and sharpened through practice. And he outlines 4 key areas to focus on for improving your concentration. What's the first one?
The first one is take control of your inner voice. And I think this is something we can all relate to, right? That constant chatter in our heads, the inner critic that's always second-guessing us or reminding us of all the times we've messed up. That can be a major obstacle when we're trying to focus.
Oh, big time. It's like having a roommate who's always talking over your favorite show.
Right. So Horsley's point is that we often dwell on the times when we didn't concentrate well, which just reinforces that negative belief that we're bad at focusing. Instead, he encourages you to start paying attention to the times when you do concentrate well, even for brief moments. Notice what that feels like, what you're doing, what your environment is like, and then start consciously using your inner voice to give yourself positive instructions, like focus on this sentence or stay present with this task.
I love that. It's like turning your inner critic into your own personal cheerleader, right?
Exactly. Instead of your inner voice being a source of distraction or negativity, you can train it to be a supportive tool, guiding your attention and helping you stay on track.
His second point is so crucial in today's world of constant distractions. Stop multitasking.
Oh, this is a big one, isn't it? We're all so used to juggling a million things at once, checking our phones while we're talking to someone, browsing the internet while we're trying to work, the whole 9 yards.
Totally. But Horsley is very clear on this. Our brains can only truly focus on one thing at a time. When we try to multitask, we're actually just rapidly switching back and forth between tasks, which slows us down and makes us much more prone to making mistakes.
The research is pretty clear on that too. We might feel like we're being more productive by multitasking, but in reality, we're actually less efficient and make more errors.
Yeah.
It's like trying to drive a car while texting and talking on the phone at the same time. It's just not safe and it's not effective.
So he really urges you to practice single tasking, being fully present in whatever you're doing, even if it seems like a small thing. Maybe it's giving your full attention to the conversation you're having, or really savoring each bite of your meal, or focusing solely on the task at hand without checking your email every 5 seconds.
It's about training your brain to be more mindful, to resist those urges to constantly switch between tasks. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes.
And that actually leads perfectly into his third point, which is know what you want, or what he calls the PIC principle: purpose, interest, and curiosity.
Because if you don't know why you're trying to learn something, or if you're not at all interested in it, it's going to be a lot harder to focus your attention, right?
Exactly. So he asks you to really consider, why is this information relevant to you? How will understanding it help you achieve your goals, even in a small way? Does it connect to something you're already passionate about? If you can answer those questions, you're much more likely to be able to concentrate and retain the information. He even quotes David Allen, the productivity guru, who says, if you're not sure why you're doing something, you can never do enough of it.
That's so true. If you approach learning with a clear purpose, it acts as a filter, helping you prioritize what's important and tune out distractions. And if you can find a way to spark your interest or cultivate your curiosity about the subject matter, you're golden.
Absolutely. And then his final point on concentration is all about tackling worry, which he describes as a mental process fueled by what-if questions that just create these negative feedback loops in your mind.
Yeah, worry is a major concentration killer. It's like having a constant background noise of anxiety that makes it hard to focus on anything else.
His solution is to consciously shift from those vague what-if worries to more action-oriented questions like, what would I do if? This helps you move from feeling helpless to feeling more in control. It's about taking that anxious energy and channeling it into problem solving.
It's about taking action, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just stewing in your worries, you're actively coming up with plans and solutions.
Yeah.
And that can be incredibly empowering.
So, for our second actionable exercise today, we challenge you to choose just one of these four areas of concentration to work on today. Maybe you decide to consciously practice single tasking during one specific activity, like reading a book or having a conversation. Or maybe you commit to taking a few minutes before starting a new tab to define your purpose for doing it, even if it's just to learn something new. Just pick one and see what difference it makes to your focus.
Even small changes can have a big impact.
Awesome. So now that we've laid the groundwork with beliefs and concentration, let's move into the create and connect part of the book. Here, Horsley really emphasizes that memory is not a passive recording process, like a camera just capturing images. It's an active and creative process.
It's about making connections, right?
Yeah.
Weaving information into the fabric of your existing knowledge and experiences.
Exactly. And that brings us to creative visualization and his C principle, which stands for sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste.
Engaging the senses. It's like turning learning into a full-blown sensory experience.
Totally. He emphasizes that the more senses you involve when you're trying to remember something, the more vivid and memorable it becomes. It's about taking abstract concepts and bringing them to life in your mind by making them concrete and multisensory.
It's like the difference between reading a recipe and actually tasting the food, right?
Exactly. So if you're trying to remember a definition, for example, don't just repeat the words over and over. Try to visualize what that definition looks like, sounds like, even smells or feels like. The more bizarre and outlandish your images, the better.
Embrace the absurdity. Make it memorable.
Totally. And he gives this classic example for remembering the Spanish word for tiger, which is tigre. He suggests picturing a tiger sitting at a table, sipping a cup of Earl Grey tea. Why? Because tigre sounds a bit like tigre.
I love that. It's so ridiculous, but it works. And the more senses you can involve in your mental image, the stronger the memory trace will be.
So for your next actionable exercise, we challenge you to try this word association and visualization technique. Pick a new foreign word you've been meaning to learn, or even a difficult concept from another subject you're studying. Find a word or phrase that sounds similar, and then create a really crazy multisensory image in your mind that connects the two.
Don't be afraid to get weird with it. The sillier, the better.
All right, now let's talk about memory systems for organization. Here, Horsley introduces several structured methods to help you organize and recall larger amounts of information more effectively.
It's like creating mental filing cabinets for your memories, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just having a jumble of facts and figures floating around in your head, you're giving each piece of information a specific place to live, which makes it much easier to find and retrieve later.
Exactly. And he talks about a few different methods, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. There's the car method, where you mentally walk through your car and place items you want to remember at different locations within it. So maybe you imagine a loaf of bread on the driver's seat, a carton of milk in the glove compartment, and your to-do list hanging from the rearview mirror.
It's a great way to leverage your existing spatial memory, that strong memory you already have of the layout of your car.
Totally. And then there's the body method, where you assign information to different parts of your body in a set order. So maybe the first item on your grocery list is attached to your toes, the second item is on your knees, the third item is on your stomach, and so on.
Again, using your own body as a familiar framework for organizing new information.
He also talks about the PEG method, especially the rhyming version, where you use rhyming words associated with numbers 1 bun, 2 shoe, 3 tree, etc. And then you create vivid associations between these pegs and the information you want to remember.
It's like creating a mental clothesline where you can hang up your memories.
Exactly. And then there's the journey method, also known as the method of loci, which is one of the oldest memory techniques in the world, dating back to ancient Greece. Here, you visualize a familiar route or location, like your walk to work or the rooms in your house, and you mentally place the items you want to remember at specific points along that journey.
So if you need to remember to pick up milk, eggs, and bread on your way home from work, You might imagine a giant carton of milk spilling over the sidewalk in front of your office building, a carton of eggs cracking open on the bus stop bench, and a loaf of bread stuck in the mailbox outside your front door.
I love that. And finally, he briefly touches on linking, which is just the simple act of creating a story that connects the items you want to remember in a sequence using vivid imagery and action to make it memorable. So maybe you need to remember to buy milk, walk the dog, and call your mom. You could imagine a giant carton of milk chasing your dog down the street, and when you finally catch the dog, it starts talking in your mom's voice, reminding you to call her.
It's about making those connections, creating a narrative that your brain can easily latch onto.
So, for your next actionable exercise, we want you to choose one of these methods, maybe the car method or a short journey through a few rooms in your house, and practice applying it to a short list of 3 to 5 things you need to remember today. It could be your grocery list, a few tasks you need to get done, or anything else that comes to mind. Really focus on visualizing those items, interacting with the locations you've chosen in a memorable way.
And when you need to recall those items later, mentally revisit your car or your journey and see if those vivid associations help the information come back to you.
Perfect. Now, let's move on to something we all struggle with from time to time, remembering names.
Oh, I'm terrible with names. It's like my brain just shuts down when I meet someone new.
But Horsley has some really great tips for this, and they're all based on his core principles of concentration, creation, and connection.
So first and foremost, it's about being present, right? Really focusing your attention when you're introduced to someone new.
Exactly. Make a conscious effort to really hear their name clearly. Repeat it back to them, and don't be afraid to ask for the spelling if you didn't catch it. This not only shows that you're interested and engaged, but it also gives your brain more time to process the information.
And then it's time to get creative. Try to come up with a vivid mental image that you associate with their name. Maybe it's a word that sounds similar, a famous person with the same name, or even just a random image that pops into your head. The point is to make it memorable.
And then the final step is to connect that image to something specific about the person's appearance or personality. If their name is Sarah and you picture a sailboat and the person happens to have beautiful blue eyes, you might imagine a tiny sailboat sailing across their eyes.
It's about making those connections, weaving the name into the fabric of your memory.
So your challenge for the next time you meet someone new is to consciously apply these 3 steps. Concentrate on hearing their name, create a vivid mental image, and connect that image to something about the person, and see if it makes a difference.
I'm going to try that. I need all the help I can get with names.
Me too. And finally, let's talk about the importance of review for long-term retention.
Because even if you use all the coolest memory techniques in the world, if you don't review the information regularly, it's likely to fade over time.
Exactly. Horsley is a big advocate for spaced repetition, which is basically the idea that you should review information at increasingly longer intervals after you initially learn it.
So maybe you review it 10 minutes after learning it, then an hour later, then the next day, then 3 days later, then a week later, and so on.
This helps to solidify the memory trace and move information from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. And he also suggests that reviewing information in reverse order can be really helpful.
Yeah, like if you use the journey method to memorize a list of items, try recalling them starting from the last location and working your way back to the beginning.
So your final actionable exercise for this deep dive is this. After you try out one of the memory techniques we've discussed today, set a reminder on your phone or make a mental note to review what you learned using that technique about 10 minutes later. Just take a minute or two to bring those images or associations back to mind.
It's a small investment of time that can pay off big time in terms of how much you retain.
And remember, these are just a few of the many techniques that Horsley covers in his book. We've really only scratched the surface here today. So if you're serious about improving your memory, we highly encourage you to check out Unlimited Memory. It's full of even more strategies and exercises, as well as specific tips for remembering different types of information, like names, numbers, speeches, and even foreign languages.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to take control of their memory and unlock their full learning potential.
So as you go about your day today, we want you to think about those initial aha moments you had during our deep dive. What really resonated with you? What specific areas of your memory are you most excited to improve? And most importantly, what are you going to do today to start putting these techniques into practice? Thanks for joining us in the Book Nook.